This week on Siskel and Ebert, Denzel Washington is an angel sent to help Whitney Houston's troubled husband in The Preacher's Wife.
A family crisis forces Meryl Streep and Diane Keaton to confront the past in Marvin's room.
And President Jack Nicholson presides over an all-star cast as Mars attacks.
I'm not going to have that thing in my house.
Sweetie, we may have to. The people expect me to meet with them.
Well, they're not going to eat off the Van in China.
Jack Nicholson and Glenn Close play the president and first lady who must grapple with flying saucers in Mars Attacks. It's one of 5 big holiday movies we're going to be reviewing this week on Siskel and Ebert. I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times.
And I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune. Our first film is Mars Attacks, and it's a hit-and-miss sci-fi comedy that I'm giving a pass to because its hits are pretty funny. The premise is that Martians visit Earth, and they're not at all friendly, catching everyone by surprise, including singer Tom Jones, right in the middle of his act in a Las Vegas showroom. That's pretty funny. That attack gets the attention of the President of the United States, a fatuous phony played by Jack Nicholson, and sadly, the comedy here is not at the level of its obvious inspiration, Stanley Kubrick's Dr. Strangelove.
Little people. Why can't we all just get along?
And here's another Strangelove wannabe sequence with the President and his gung-ho army chief played by Rod Steiger. The special effects and the creatures, however, are a lot of fun in Mars Attacks. What I like about Mars Attacks is everything involving the Martians. It's very clear that director Tim Burton, who has always defended the oddballs in his movies, like Edward Scissorhands, Batman Returns, and Ed Wood, he really likes the Martian creatures here much more than the Earthlings. He lampoons most everything on Earth, and the Martians are always portrayed as literally having a blast. I like that subversive approach, and on that basis, I enjoyed Mars Attacks.
I didn't like it at all, Gene.
At all?
Not really. The problem is that the concept, well, let's go at it 2 ways. First of all, the concept probably sounded funnier than it is. Oh, we'll get Jack Nicholson to be the president, and he'll play a dual role. Well, that's terrific, except he's not funny in either role, and they're not well written. In fact, none of the roles are well written. Then you have the creatures, and obviously Burton spent a lot of time on these creatures, and as a result, he leaves them on the screen too long. I mean, when one creature, little head pops and fills the inside of his space helmet with green oatmeal, that's kind of amusing. When it happens 1,000 times, it's not 1,000 times more amusing. This just drags on and on. There's no payoff. You've got to have a story. You've got to have an orientation. You've got to have material to make it fun.
I supplied the orientation. I think that's what the movie is really about. That he likes these creatures more than the creatures on Earth. But you're right that there isn't a hard-driving story here, and the Strangelove stuff really just shows you how brilliant that film was.
You know, his last movie, which was so good, was Ed Wood, and I think maybe this time he was trying to make an Ed Wood movie.
No. This is not that bad, and the creatures are a lot of fun, and there's some very funny stuff.
Ed Wood would have certainly been able to understand this film. Okay, next movie, and our next movie is a delicate and touching drama about dying, titled Marvin's Room. Based on a stage play, it stars Diane Keaton and Meryl Streep in the story of 2 sisters who meet for the first time in 20 years after Keaton discovers she has leukemia and that only close relatives can provide a possible bone marrow transplant. In this scene, her younger sister arrives from Ohio with her 2 sons in tow. They're played by Leonardo DiCaprio and Hal Scardino.
Hey, did your Aunt Bessie offer you a chip yet?
Oh, that's what they're there for.
Yeah, but he has to wait to be asked, Bessie. Put the chip back, Hank. Put it back. Put Back the chip.
Gwen Verdon has a wacky supporting role as a goofy aunt whose electronic pain control device also seems to control the garage door. Here she gets makeup tips from her great-nephew.
Oh, Charlie, what a good job.
In the course of a week's visit, the two sisters open up a lot of old wounds so painful that they have not communicated in 20 years.
You're supposed to take care of your family. I took care of my family. I raised 2 kids all by myself, never even heard from you people. Now I am finally getting my life together. Nobody's going to take it away from me.
The film finds a tricky balance between tragedy and humor, and a lot of the humor comes from Robert De Niro as the kind of doctor whose desire to be reassuring is somehow very frightening.
Where did I put the whatchamacallit?
The tourniquet?
Yes, that's it. Oh, I'm sitting on it.
Marvin's room has some other important characters, including Hume Cronin as the sister's father, Marvin, who is also dying, and Dan Hedaya, wonderful as De Niro's nutty brother. It's fascinating how the movie is able to maintain a dry and zany sense of humor in the midst of its serious concerns. In a way, Marvin's Room reminded me of What's Eating Gilbert Grape, which also starred DiCaprio. Both movies are about families that are breaking up under the weight of mental and physical illness and yet still find ways to communicate and to laugh. I liked it.
I liked it for the part dealing with the two sisters. I think that some of the other things, by the way, Dan Hedaya is wonderful. I mean, he's very good. This is a guy, because of Clueless, his whole career has blossomed and rediscovered a wonderful actor. But back to this picture, some of the stuff seems a little bit like everybody has a quirk, and it seemed overwritten. But when the story really kicks in and what it's really about with the two sisters, then I thought it was quite beautiful. And the notion that Diane Keaton says, and I think the heart of the picture is the line dealing with what a gift it is to be able to love someone, because the implication is that the dying father is a burden. And what she's saying,
loves him.
And she's saying that is not, it's the wrong way of looking at it.
I would defend one other part of the movie, though. Meryl Streep's relationship with her two sons is interesting because it's not just that they're bad boys, it's that also she is riding them all the time. Every time that they try to do something, she tells them not to do it. They don't know what to do. I'm almost in sympathy with the kid who burned down the house, and so that relationship was interesting.
The relationship is, but all the business is a little too much. And that's from, I think, the stage play. Coming up next, two of the most charismatic performers around, Denzel Washington and Whitney Houston co-star in a remake called The Preacher's Wife.
I believe in you and me.
Nice to meet you, Dudley. You a reporter?
No.
Social worker?
No, I'm here in answer to your request.
Request?
For help?
Denzel Washington plays an angel sent by God to help a disbelieving reverend under duress in The Preacher's Wife. And at first, and for a long time thereafter, the preacher, played by Courtney B. Vance, doesn't believe Washington is really an angel, even though he's asked God for help in his struggle against a real estate developer who is threatening to demolish his church.
Will you excuse me?
Sure.
Thank you.
Wow. I'm sorry. I'll, try another approach.
Also stunned by the angel's appearance is the preacher's wife, played by Whitney Houston, and her mother, Jennifer Lewis. And the film has a lot of fun with how handsome Denzel Washington is.
It's obvious where Julia's beauty comes from.
And me with my hair looking like this.
Naturally, the centerpiece of the film is the flirtatious relationship that develops between the angel and the preacher's wife. But I had a hard time accepting that the preacher was so bad as to ignore his wife and child as much as it is suggested in this screenplay adaptation of The Bishop's Wife.
You know you love him.
Yeah, he knows it too. That's the problem. He knows I'll always be there. Just like a pet. Ouch!
See? God doesn't like ugly.
All the attention given to his wife threatens the preacher, I guess, as well as should.
I want you to leave. Now.
Now?
Yes, now.
I don't think I can do that, Henry. Check the angel handbook. It says I can't leave until I'm through, I think.
I liked a lot of the preacher's wife, but the character of the preacher himself I thought was badly written. I didn't understand his motivations most of the time. This is a remake, as I mentioned, of a 1947 movie, The Bishop's Wife, and if you're going to do an update on a 50-year-old movie, I think it could be grounded a little more in reality with good effect and still maintain the fairy tale quality of the film. So, thumbs up for me on The Preacher's Wife. It's hard to name a more appealing couple of stars than Whitney Houston and Denzel Washington, but I got a lot of problems with this picture.
I give it a marginal thumbs up, too, and I had some of the same problems you had, and also I felt that Penny Marshall, the director, could have punched up the humor a little bit more. I mean, the villain isn't very bad. The jokes aren't... I mean, it could have, if she'd tightened the screws and not made it so laid back and sweet and warm-hearted and fuzzy, it could have been a great holiday movie instead of just a nice one.
Well, let me ask a question that maybe people are wondering as they listen to us. We don't seem very enthusiastic about the movie.
It's the people. It's Denzel and Whitney. They're worth the...
He is appealing.
Yeah.
There's nobody more appealing than him.
Now, a theological problem. This guy cannot be an angel because he says he died 30 years ago. He's a human who came back from Earth. Humans don't get to be angels. Angels and humans are two different characters. Angels can't feel sexual feelings. So there's a big theological difficulty with this movie that I hope doesn't distract people too much, as it did me.
Okay. Well, I wonder if you had the same concern about The Preacher.
Yeah.
It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Well, he's a plot point. The Preacher is a plot point. He has to do it so that he can get better from having done it.
When we come back, Kenneth Branagh's ambitious all-star film of Hamlet.
To be or not to be? That is the question.
Kenneth Branagh plays one of the most famous characters in world literature in a scene there from his ambitious and hugely successful new film version of Shakespeare's Hamlet. Branagh has made two splendid Shakespeare films in the past, Henry V and Much Ado About Nothing, and here, with the most complex and difficult character in English literature maybe, he achieves a power and clarity that is astonishing. One beneficiary of this uncut version is Claudius, the new king, who is Hamlet's uncle. Played by Derek Jacobi, he seems stronger and more self-confident in his scenes with Hamlet than in many productions, and also wonderfully well acted is Hamlet's mother, Gertrude, played by Julie Christie.
We pray you, throw to earth this unprevailing woe, and think of us as of a father.
But let the world take note. You are the most immediate to our throne.
Another key character, Polonius, played by Richard Briers, is the Queen's closest advisor. Here he worries about his daughter Ophelia, played by Kate Winslet, who has been led to believe that she is Hamlet's intended.
He has, my lord, of late, made many tenders of his affection.
Affection? Oh, you speak like a green girl unsifted in such perilous circumstances. Do you believe his tenders, as you call them?
Branagh has filled some of the smaller roles with familiar Hollywood faces like Robin Williams and Billy Crystal, and Charlton Heston, who was surprisingly good as the player King. Among the supporting British players are Timothy Spall and Rhys Dinsdale as Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, classmates of Hamlet, but in league with the King.
Will you play upon this play?
My lord, I cannot.
Pray you.
Believe me, I can.
I do beseech you.
I know no touch of it, my lord.
It is as easy as lying, huh?
Towering over everything is Branagh as the prince whose grief and guilt over the death of his father and the hasty remarriage of his mother leads to madness and tragedy for the whole kingdom.
I will not murder him! What? Oh! Help! Help! Enough! Around!
Hamlet is such a long play that it's almost always cut at least a little even on the stage. Here it runs 242 minutes, just 1 minute short of the longest major Hollywood film ever made, which was Cleopatra. The studio plans to release Hamlet in this version in a few key markets and in a shorter 2.5-hour version in most markets. We haven't seen the shorter version, but my guess is that it could benefit by losing some of the distracting performances by people like Billy Crystal and Jack Lemmon. I'll reserve judgment, though, on that version until I see it. The long version is a great film.
I enjoyed it very much, and that's what I'd cut out. Jack Lemmon, particularly Jack Lemmon, and he's right at the beginning of the film, and it gets off to
distracting.
a very bad
saying,
start.
hey, that's Jack Lemmon in Hamlet.
And he can't do it. Charlton Heston, as you mentioned, is very good. But let's get to the production, the scale of the thing, because if you bring it back to me, I do not think of Branagh first. I think of the interiors of this
that room, the room with the balcony going over the middle of the area there, used as a set and as a
It is that to me. It's I felt that I was in a place I had never been before. It was very special. One thing on Branagh, for me, when he is quiet, doing Shakespeare. He's spectacular. I think he has problems, or at least I have problems with him, at the upper registers. When he starts blasting out, I think his theater training throws him off. He doesn't have to shout as much. He can shout at a little lower register, because sometimes I had problems with him. But the decision to make this, the ability to make this is terrific. And he's as responsible as anybody for the resurgence of Shakespeare from going back to Henry V.
Yes, he is. At every point during this play, you know exactly who's on screen, why they're on screen, what they're trying to accomplish. It's a very, very clear production.
This is a great year for Shakespeare and then for audiences, with Looking for Richard from Al Pacino and this picture, and Twelfth Night. I mean, it's glory.
And Romeo and Juliet, according to you.
According to me. Coming up next, Laura Dern stars in Citizen Ruth. Our next film stars Laura Dern in the title role as Citizen Ruth, a young woman who, even though she's drug addicted and homeless, keeps having babies. But on discovering she's pregnant with her 5th child, she learns she might make some money this time by having the baby, thanks to anti-abortion forces led by Burt Reynolds, who will pay her to deliver.
I am holding here a check for $15,000 made out in the name of Ruth Stoops.
But there are pro-choice forces that will match that money if she aborts.
There's a war on. And I guess you could call me a spy. This is Rachel. She lives here with me.
And that's Swoosie Kurtz and Kelly Preston as the pro-choice activists. Back and forth the offers go in what turns out to be an outlandish comedy.
The fund for Ruth and her baby now stands at nearly $27,000. $27,000. America will not stand by and watch a baby die needlessly because her mother is poor.
I don't think Citizen Ruth is quite as shocking as it would like to be. Sadly, real life and death battles over abortion trump whatever we see in this picture. I do like one thing about the film very much, and that's Laura Dern's original performance as Ruth, as a selfish ignoramus. Dern doesn't soften her characterization at all during the film. That's brave, but it's not enough for me to recommend an otherwise predictable satire.
I didn't think it was predictable at all. I don't think I've ever seen a movie that takes on both sides in the abortion struggle and shows both sides in a very satirical light and then doesn't even have a heroine at the middle. This movie has no attractive characters, and I found that fascinating. I found it very uncompromising, very sharp-edged, very bitter, and very effective.
But Roger, at the point that we got the two sides fighting her, the movie's over. That doesn't add anything new.
The movie isn't over because the movie is about the two sides and about their...
In the most predictable of ways. The criticism is legit, but...
How can you predict this movie when you've never seen a movie anything like this before in your life?
I knew that the two sides were just going to escalate and be made fools of.
What about the details?
Some of the details,
greatness is in the details, in the dialogue, in the characterizations, in the performances.
She's great. The movie isn't.
When we come back, one of the best films of 1996 is now out on video, starring Al Freeman, Richard Roundtree, and Felicia Rashad.
Come here. Siskel and Ebert's Video Pick of the Week is brought to you by Raisinets. At the movies or anytime, Raisinets.
My video pick this week is a wonderful film that opened last January and never made it to the bestseller list, but played for weeks and weeks in certain theaters as word of mouth told how special it was. It's called Once Upon a Time When We Were Colored, and now it's available on video. Tim Reed, the television star, directed this film, which tells the story of a young boy named Cliff whose life illustrates the belief that it does take a village to raise a child. One of the most important people in his life is his great-grandfather, played by Al Freeman. In a heartbreaking sequence, he teaches the little boy about the signs that enforce segregation.
This is a W. That's the first letter of the word white. Now, when you see this, whether it's on a door or a sign or a water fountain, you don't use it.
Felicia Rashad plays his grandmother, and Richard Roundtree plays the local iceman who has some good advice for the young man.
I bet this is your very first day of school, isn't it? Come here, listen to me. Now, when you study real hard, you hear? Go all the way. Learn how to draw buildings or be a doctor. Now, you can be anything you want to be.
Once Upon a Time When We Were Colored is about fairly recent history, but already much of it has been forgotten. It's a heartwarming movie filled with humanity and humor, and it's going on my list of the year's best films. Now let's take another look at the movies we reviewed this week. We split on Tim Burton's Mars Attacks. I found it to be a movie all dressed up with nowhere to go, but Gene gave it a pass for what he felt were the good laughs from the alien creatures. 2 thumbs up, though, for Marvin's Room with its wonderful portrait of a family healing in a crisis. It opens next week in New York and Los Angeles and elsewhere around Christmas. 2 more thumbs up for The Preacher's Wife, a heartwarming holiday story that could have turned up the energy a little, but still generates a lot of sweetness and light. 2 very enthusiastic thumbs up for Kenneth Branagh's Hamlet, a virtuoso job of directing and acting in a full-length version of Shakespeare's most challenging play. It opens in this version on Christmas Day in New York, LA, and Toronto, and wider in both longer and shorter versions in January. And finally, a split vote on Citizen Ruth. I think it's a daring and uncompromising satire, but Gene found it to be predictable. We both admired Laura Dern's performance.
Right, so the towering achievement here is Branagh's Hamlet.
Yes, I would try, if I were a moviegoer and a Shakespeare lover,
to see the 4-hour
try
version.
to get to that 4-hour version,
Yeah,
yes.
and when Jack Lemmon comes on, don't worry, he'll be off real quick. That's it for this week. Next week, we'll be back with reviews of more big holiday movies, including Evita, starring Madonna. That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.
VCR alert for Christmas. It's the brand new 97 edition of Roger Ebert's Video Companion. It comes with a separate pocket video guide.
An 80-year tradition of quality and fine leather craftsmanship makes an Amity wallet the perfect holiday gift for the man in your life. Amity, what men really want.
If you hate cords tripping you up, you'll love Conair's convenient new Cord Keeper Dryer. The Cord Keeper Dryer. Another Conair first. It's the one to wind up with.
Peace on Earth, the new Christmas album from master instrumentalist Kataro, featuring the International Children's Peace Choir, performing classic holiday songs.